I didn't expect a machine to change my life, and I sure as hell didn't expect it to almost take it. But that's what motorcycles do. They give, they take, they demand, they reward. And if you let them in, they change everything. I remember my first ride like it was a memory tattooed onto my brain. It wasn't fast. It wasn't flashy. It wasn't smooth, but it was mine. The first time I twisted the throttle and felt the bike pull beneath me, I laughed out loud in my helmet. Not because it was funny, but because I suddenly understood something no one had ever been able to explain. Freedom. Pure, raw, unscripted freedom. The world got quieter. My thoughts got clearer. The road felt like an invitation. That's where it started. What I didn't know was how deeply riding would get into my bones, how much it would teach me, how much it would ask of me, and how close it would come, more than once, to being the last thing I ever did. Motorcycling changed my life. Let me tell you how. At first, it was just about escape. Work was stress. Life was noise. The days were too fast and too slow at the same time. But when I rode, everything stopped. There were no deadlines, no emails, no bills. Just the road. Just the hum of the engine. Just the wind finding its way through every crack in my jacket. It became therapy. Meditation at 60 miles per hour. The throttle was my release. The corners were my clarity. The first month I started riding, I realized something. I was smiling more. Not for photos, not for people, just because I felt okay again. I started waking up early, not because I had to, but because I wanted to ride. I started exploring new places, not to post them, but to feel them. I found myself in small towns I'd never seen, talking to strangers I'd never meet again, sitting on curbs next to my bike with a coffee in hand and a smile on my face. That's the gift motorcycles gave me. They gave me myself back, but they didn't come without cost. One day I was riding home, late afternoon, long stretch of two-lane road, no traffic, no distractions. I was in the zone, and then a deer jumped out of the tree line. I don't remember the sound. I just remember the feeling. The front end dipped. My hands went light. The bike slid. Time folded in on itself. When I stopped moving, I was on my back, helmet cracked, wind knocked out of me. The bike wrecked. Me, lucky. Broken collarbone, dislocated shoulder, bruised ribs. Could have been worse, could have been over. And the thought that scared me most wasn't the crash. It was the idea of not riding again. I got back on a bike 3 months later. Slower, more cautious, but grateful. Grateful for the reminder that motorcycling is not a game. It's not a thrill ride. It's a relationship. And like any relationship, it needs respect. That crash taught me everything I needed to know about what kind of rider I wanted to be. Not fearless, not invincible, but aware, present, invested. Because the line between joy and danger is thin out there, but it's worth walking. After that, I rode with new eyes. I saw risk not as something to fear, but something to manage. I trained harder, read more, practiced emergency braking in empty parking lots, took advanced courses. I upgraded my gear, stopped cutting corners, started listening to my gut. Every time I turned the key, I took a breath and reminded myself, this ride is a privilege, not a right. And every ride after that, it felt deeper, more intentional. The crash didn't ruin riding for me. It made me fall in love with it again. Because that's the thing about motorcycling. It doesn't let you stay numb. You feel everything. The vibration in your fingers, the temperature of the air, the curve of the road under your tires. You feel alive. And in a world that tries to dull every edge of your life, that feeling becomes addictive. Motorcycling gave me courage, not the kind you shout about, the quiet kind. The courage to take a trip alone, to get lost on purpose, to ride into the night not knowing exactly where I'd sleep. The courage to face my thoughts, to sit in silence with my helmet on and realize this is who I really am. It gave me people, friends I never would have met, stories I never would have heard, shared miles, shared meals, shared moments where nothing was said and everything was understood. There's a brotherhood and sisterhood among riders that can't be replicated. It doesn't matter what you ride. where you're from, what patch you wear. On the road, we're the same. Motorcycling also gave me discipline. You don't ride well by accident. You ride well because you show up. You prep the bike. You check the tires. You wear the gear. You stay sharp. It taught me that fun without responsibility is just recklessness. And that lesson started showing up everywhere else in my life, in work, in relationships, in how I handled stress, in how I showed up for people. The more I learned about riding, the more I learned about living. It changed the way I saw time. Before bikes, I was always rushing, late to everything, never present, always checking the next box. But on a motorcycle, you have to be here, now, in this moment. You feel the seconds stretch, the miles breathe. You learn to savor the ride. Eventually, that mindset follows you off the bike. You stop waiting for someday. You stop saying, I'll do that later. You start realizing this is it, this moment, this ride, this life. It changed the way I saw risk. People say riding is dangerous, and it is, but so is living half a life. So is never trying. So is letting fear win. Riding taught me to measure risk, not avoid it, to weigh the cost and still choose the thing that makes you feel alive. It taught me to be more aware of the world, the light in the trees, the smell of rain on asphalt, the sound of a V twin echoing off a canyon wall. It made me notice things, appreciate things. Motorcycling became a lens, a filter through which life became sharper, richer, fuller. It nearly took my life, but it gave me one worth living. I don't know if motorcycles will always be a part of my story. I hope they will, but I know that I'll never be the same because of them. They've carried me through some of the best days of my life and some of the hardest. They've challenged me, saved me, humbled me, and they've always been honest. That's what I love most about them. A bike will never lie to you. It will always show you exactly who you are. If you're angry, it will magnify it. If you're scared, it will test it. If you're at peace, it will carry it. And if you're lost, it might just bring you back. After the crash, I saw the road day. I didn't just ride it, I respected it. Didn't just lean into curves, I studied them. I started to train with purpose, not to go faster, but to ride longer, smarter, safer. The old me wanted to impress, the new me, I just wanted to ride again tomorrow. I'd spend hours in empty parking lots, marking out courses with cones, or plastic bottles filled with water when I didn't have cones. I practiced emergency stops until my forearms burned. Quick swerves, figure eights, clutch control, throttle finesse. Not for Instagram, not for some viral moment. For me, for that version of me that woke up in a hospital bed once and thought, was it worth it? I wanted to make sure the answer would be yes, every time. So I studied, devoured books like Proficient Motorcycling and Total Control, watched every tutorial I could find, then watched them again. I enrolled in advanced rider courses where former racers and law enforcement riders broke me down and built me back up. They showed me what real control looked like. And that's when motorcycling stopped being just a thrill. It became a discipline, a craft, a path. I wasn't trying to prove anything anymore. I wasn't chasing clout or likes or validation. I just wanted to keep showing up, day after day, ride after ride. And in return for that commitment, motorcycling gave me more than I could have ever imagined. Every mile felt earned. Every curve felt sacred. And somewhere inside that rigor and repetition, I found peace. Because motorcycling doesn't let you sleepwalk through life. It wakes you up. You feel everything. The vibration of the engine echoing through your spine, the sun warming your knuckles inside your gloves, that whisper of cold air that sneaks into your helmet, making your neck tingle. In a world built to numb us, that kind of feeling matters. Riding gave me courage, but not the movie kind. Not the loud, slow motion explosion behind you kind. The quiet kind. The kind that whispers in your helmet, you'll be okay on your own. You can figure this out. You're allowed to not know. You're allowed to get lost. So I started taking trips, solo. Packed light, no reservations, no plan beyond let's see what's over that ridge. A duffel bag strapped to the seat, a map, a full tank, and a kind of openness I hadn't felt since childhood. Some nights I stayed in roadside motels with flickering neon signs and sagging mattresses. Other nights I pitched my tent by rivers under stars so bright they lit the outline of my bike like a painting. And in that stillness, that lack of distraction, I started hearing myself again. Really hearing myself. No phone, no scroll, no pressure to perform. Just the sound of the wind, the occasional owl, the ticking of the engine as it cooled beside me. Motorcycling didn't just reconnect me to the world, it reintroduced me to myself. And it introduced me to others too. People I never would have met if I'd stayed in my lane. I had conversations in gas stations with men in their 70s who'd ridden from Alaska to Argentina. I got my butt handed to me in the twisties by a woman half my size, twice my skill. I met wide eyed kids at rest stops who begged to sit on the bike for a photo, who told me, I want to ride when I grow up. And that's the thing about bikes, they dissolve all the nonsense. On two wheels, we're the same. Doesn't matter what you do for a living, what language you speak, what your politics are. On the road, you wave to a stranger because they're family. We help each other without hesitation. We lend tools, patch tires, offer advice, sometimes food, sometimes shade. It's not a club you buy into. It's a brotherhood and sisterhood you earn with every mile. Motorcycling taught me responsibility because there's no autopilot. You don't just hop on and go. You inspect the bike, check the tires, the oil, the chain tension, the brake fluid. You zip the jacket, tighten the gloves, secure the helmet. You pay attention. Because sloppiness on a bike doesn't just mean inconvenience, it can mean injury or worse. That mindset bled into the rest of my life. I started showing up early, started prepping meals, reviewing routes, tuning up not just the bike, but myself. The discipline I learned on the bike turned into discipline in everything else. Motorcycling changed how I saw time. Before bikes, time slipped past me. I was always rushing, late, behind, chasing deadlines and dreams that never arrived. But on a bike, you can't rush. Even when you're flying down a highway at 80, you're not rushing, you're flowing, you're watching, feeling, listening. You become acutely aware of time, not because you're short on it, but because you're inside of it. A 10-minute ride feels like an hour of therapy. A twisty canyon road, a cathedral. And the noise in your head, it fades. That presence, that stillness, it follows you home. Suddenly, you're savoring your coffee. You're actually listening in conversations. You take longer to eat, longer to talk, longer to be. Because you've learned this is your life, right now, not later, not once you've made it. And that realization, that's a gift. Motorcycling also rewired how I saw risk. People love to tell you motorcycles are dangerous, and they're not wrong. But here's the thing, so is living scared. So is living small. So is spending your whole life behind a desk, doing things you don't care about for people who don't remember your name. Bikes taught me to respect risk, to calculate it, mitigate it, prepare for it, but not to run from it. Because every meaningful thing in life comes with risk, love, adventure, art, purpose. Bikes just make that reality impossible to ignore. And once you get comfortable with that balance, you start living with your eyes open. You stop sleepwalking. Motorcycling also sharpened my senses in ways I never expected. Suddenly, I noticed things. How the morning sun hits the asphalt at just the right angle to make it shimmer like glass. How the scent of pine changes as you climb higher into the mountains. How the temperature drops in valleys and rises again on ridges. I noticed birds taking flight in my peripheral, the tiny cracks in country roads, the way different helmets filter wind noise. I became more present, more connected, more awake. And in that awareness, I found gratitude. Not the kind you write in journals, the kind that sneaks up on you in the middle of a ride when you think, I'm lucky to be alive. I'm lucky to be here, right here. Slowly, riding rewrote my identity. It gave me strength, not the kind that puffs up your chest, the kind that makes you steady under pressure. It gave me calm, not silence, but peace, even in chaos. It gave me joy, not happiness, joy. That deep, buzzing fulfillment that bubbles up out of nowhere and makes you laugh in your helmet like an idiot at 65 miles per hour. But most of all, it gave me honesty, because a motorcycle is a mirror. It reflects your fears, your arrogance, your overconfidence, your hesitation. And if you don't listen, it teaches you. Fast. You can't lie to a bike. It will call you out every time. If you're distracted, it reminds you. If you're impatient, it humbles you. But if you're lost, sometimes a motorcycle is the only thing that can bring you back. I won't pretend riding is for everyone. It's not. But if you feel that pull in your gut, that curiosity, that whisper that's just try it, then hear me when I say this. You won't just ride a motorcycle. It will ride through you. It will break down walls you didn't know you built. It'll shake loose emotions you didn't know you buried. It'll ask questions you don't have answers to. And if you let it, it'll rebuild you. Better, stronger, more you than you've ever been. Motorcycling changed my life. And yeah, it nearly took it. But even knowing what I know now, I'd do it again. Every ride, every scar, every memory. For even one more perfect ride. For one more moment when everything disappears except the road ahead. So to every rider out there, every weekend warrior, every long distance drifter, every beginner wobbling through a parking lot, every seasoned vet with 200,000 miles on the clock, ride safe, ride smart, ride true. Because this life, it's not about arriving spotless. It's about showing up fully. And no matter where you're headed, I'll see you out there. Two wheels, one heart. Let's ride.